Good morning from day number 32. It is Monday, June 3rd. Riley and I have just packed up our camp and we're just about ready to get started. So my pack's ready right there to put on my back and Riley is ready to go. Hello, Riley. We had a very restful night's sleep last night. One thing I didn't mention yesterday is that we are back around like 3,500 feet elevation. Yesterday we were in the 3,000s the whole day, as opposed to 6,000, 5,000, 6,000 before Route 19. So, as a result, the temperatures are much less chilly. We weren't cold at all last night. We were just very comfortable temperature. And we slept in this morning because we got in so late last night. I'm guessing it's like maybe 10:30 right now. Something like that. Haven't looked at the clock, but we're gonna get on the trail and get started with the day and hopefully have a good one. All right, we'll check in later. Van Gogh and Riley checking in. It's a beautiful day. Beautiful day. Sun is out. It's warmer than yesterday, but right now we're in the shade. We passed a couple actually several times. We kind of crisscrossed paths. And then we passed them a little while back there. And I had to kind of tug on Riley to get him to move. And he just decided to pull off to the side and plop down, and he still wants to wait for him. Riley is such a sweet boy. But the couple that we passed, the woman is very fond of dogs, and she was talking to Riley, but her husband, her companion, is kind of afraid of dogs. So he is not interacting with Riley at all. So that's part of the reason that I do want to stay ahead of them, so that her husband isn't bothered by Riley's presence. So we will check in later. All right, Riley and Van Gogh here checking in. It's been another slow day for whatever reason. The couple that I mentioned earlier, the woman and the man, I asked what their trail names were. I asked the woman, and she said her trail name is Dazed. And her husband's trail name is Confused. So they are dazed and confused. Yeah, Riley really kind of attached to them. And after we said bye the last time, he just kept wanting to take breaks on the side. And he was kind of just looking back. I believe he still wanted to wait for them, and they eventually caught up. And then we eventually got to the next shelter, Moreland Gap Shelter, where I was thirsty. and they decided to take a break there, and I didn't have any water, so I decided to leave Riley attached to a tree near the shelter, and they said they'd be fine watching him while I went down and got water. And then I got back, and they hiked on just for a couple more miles while we stayed at the shelter, or stayed in our place. We weren't right at the shelter at the picnic table. We were kind of off to the side, and the reason for that was because I had originally left Riley. I picked out the tree to attach him to. That was a good bit distant from, or not too far away, but a little bit far away from the picnic table where the couple was eating their food, and I intentionally did that so that the man, confused, wouldn't be bothered by Riley's presence. Anyway, so the couple hiked on, and I enjoyed my beverage. I actually didn't mention that I no longer have my Sawyer Squeeze water filter. I had it yesterday, but then when I got to our campsite, I noticed that it wasn't in the back pouch that I usually keep it in. And I don't know specifically what happened to it. It could have fallen out when I took a break at one point, or I do specifically remember drinking out of it at one water source, and it's possible that I mistakenly didn't put it back in my backpack in the back pouch properly. I'm really not sure. So today I've been using my bug net and trying to use that as a water filter in place of my actual filter, just to provide a little bit more protection. It at least can get some of the larger particles that might be present in the water out of it before I drink it. But anyway, so at the yeah, and I apologize, I feel like I have very low energy right now, so my voice, I can feel it myself that I don't feel very excited. I'm just kind of talking and dragging. But let me continue with what's on my mind. Yeah, so I was able to quench my thirst by getting the water, but I also picked up some drink powder actually a while back at Uncle Johnny's in Irwin, Tennessee. I picked up a few packets of, I think it's Peak brand, and the flavor is Concord grape. So I have several packets of the grape drink powder, and I haven't actually tried it yet until today at the at Moreland Gap Shelter, a few miles back. And I was actually kind of like, so I started with, on the trail, I started with a, not drink powder, but a little bottle of condensed water flavor enhancer that is made by a brand called Mio, I think, M-I-O, and you basically just like squirt it, give one or two or three squirts into your water bottle, and it's pretty cool. It works very well to enhance the flavor. And I had an orange flavor. That's what I've had since the start of the trail, but I ended up using that up, I think, near the end of the Smokies. So I've been without any flavor enhancer for a while, and the reason I hadn't used the grape drink powder since Uncle Johnny's is because I had packed out some soda from Uncle Johnny's, like a big thing of Sprite, and so I was actually able to drink that for a while. But anyway, the point I was getting to was I was actually recently craving a grape flavor. I was getting tired of the orange flavor that I had started the trail with. And so I got to try out the grape flavor for the first time today. And it was very enjoyable to drink. It quenched my thirst, the water was cold, and I very much enjoyed the grape flavor. Grape, not great. But apart from that, after we eventually got going from the shelter, Riley still kind of was asking to take several breaks. And I don't think it's because he was like, it's not like he was breathing hard or overheated or anything, but for whatever reason he would stop frequently and then kind of mosey on over to the side of the trail and pick out a comfortable spot and just kind of plop down. So as a result of that, we've not made much mileage today. I checked where we were at about 5:30, and we had done like 6 miles at that point. So we're basically trending similarly to yesterday, where we started off the day really slow, and now in order to meet our daily goal of 13.3 miles, we're gonna have to hike later into the night again, if we're able to. So Riley's hiking fine so far, for now at least. So we'll see how it goes. We are getting close actually to a road crossing called Dennis Cove Road. And once we cross that road, we actually enter into a really nice section of trail where it crosses through some really large rocks, and I think there's a water, I'm not sure what to describe it, but it's like a kind of like a river, and there's some waterfalls, and I think it goes by the name of Laurel Fork. And from what I recall from my previous hike, that's a very popular destination for day hikers and just people that want to see some cool sights. And I remember being just pretty impressed with the waterfalls and the rock formations. So we should be getting there today. Not sure what time we're going to get there, but we're only a few miles away. So it just depends on how fast we walk. And I'm not really full of energy either. I'm just, like, I'm not needing all the breaks that Riley's been suggesting and requesting. But when we have been hiking, I'm not yet in the mood to hike fast. I'm just going one slow step at a time and eventually making progress after many steps. But the day's been very pleasant. It's been kind of like this the whole day, just sunny and no worry about rain. Trail's been very nice. If I were hiking without Riley, it would be like ideal to do like 20+ mile days. But Riley and I are a team. We're hiking together, and so we get wherever we get to together, and wherever we get, that's fine. But I do like to hit our goal of at least 13.3 miles, so that we can try to stay on track for the overall goal of reaching Katahdin before it closes. So I also want to give just a a rundown of our experience at Mountain Harbor Hostel a couple days ago. Somebody left some trash here. Some trash. What is this? Aspirin. Okay. This is my trash pocket, so when I see stuff like this, I try to pick it up as long as it's not too burdensome for me. And then I just put it in my trash pocket and then I throw it away when I can. Anyway, so Mountain Harbor Hostel. Very nice place. I'm glad that we took the opportunity that we had while we were passing by to stop in and spend the night and experience it. I'm gonna try to suggest to Riley that we continue on if he's agreeable, which he seems to be. Very good. Yes, so we eventually actually got there a little before 9 p.m. and I had mentioned that I was worried that we were getting there so late, like close to 9 p.m. that might be too late for them to accept us. But they still had the people that were taking care of the place. They were still out, and I walked in and immediately saw a guy who directed me to a lady named Jill. Her trail name is Trail Mix, and it was like 8:52 p.m. at that point, and I just said I wanted a tent site and I wanted to get breakfast in the morning, and she said that's good, and she gave me the information, just the quick rundown of the place, like where to set up my tent. She told me that breakfast is served at 8 a.m. and people can start gathering for coffee and juice at 7:45 in the morning. And she showed me where the bunkhouse was. Okay, we got a sign here. Dennis Cove Trailhead 2 miles that way. And we've come 4 miles from Moreland Gap Shelter. Okay, so let's continue this way. We have 2 miles to get to Dennis Cove Road. Anyway, so the overall property is very nice. Like, they have a barn and a nice creek, and they have the barn is what they use as their bunkhouse, along with private rooms if people want private rooms, and then they have a main house as well. That's for purposes of the hikers. That's where the breakfast is made and where people go for breakfast. And I think that's also probably where people stay if they are staying at the bed and breakfast. So I think Riley's going to request a break here. Cool, so we'll take a break here and I'll just finish my thoughts. The property is very nice, and like I said, we got there about 9 p.m. and my first order of business was to start like accessing their Wi-Fi so that I could start uploading YouTube videos, which is one of the main reasons that I stay at hostels, in addition to experiencing like something special, like a nice breakfast. Normally I wouldn't stay at hostels all that much, but in order to do anything on YouTube, I need access to Wi-Fi, and hostels are the main way that I'm able to do that. So I got started with uploading videos, and that all took place in the barn, like the first floor of the barn. The bunkhouse was on the second floor. Perhaps I should have considered asking if we could have stayed in the bunkhouse. That would have at least allowed, it would have been more money, not a lot more, but it would have allowed the bed that Riley and I sleep in to be closer and more accessible to the Wi-Fi. Usually hostels don't allow dogs in the bunkhouse, so I didn't really think to even ask about it. But I think Mountain Harbor might have allowed it as long as the dog is well-mannered and not going to disturb people. But regardless, I didn't request that. We just got a tent site. And anyway, so I got the YouTube process started. Then Riley and I went out to set up our tent. And they have a nice tenting place. Like, it's a little ways away from the bunkhouse. But they have like individual sites for each tenter, as opposed to like just one big yard where you just pick your own spot and set up your tent. The one thing I haven't really liked very much about the hostels, the tenting process that so far. So I've only stayed at 3 hostels: Laughing Heart in Hot Springs, Uncle Johnny's in Irwin, and Mountain Harbor. The first one in Hot Springs, I set up our tent, but there wasn't any benefit to doing that because we didn't end up actually using it. But at Uncle Johnny's and here, the land that I selected for a tent, I noticed that the ground was just very hard, and it was really an effort to stake out my tent, which was kind of annoying. When I'm on trail and I get to a campsite, the ground is usually much softer, and it's very easy to put the stakes in the ground. But for some reason, the specific land that I've selected at the past 2 hostels has been much harder and rockier, and it's been kind of annoying to try to set up the tent. Perhaps I've just chosen bad sites, but either way, that was kind of annoying to have to, like, it seems like if you're at a hostel, it should be a much easier process to set up your tent than when you're actually on the trail, but that hasn't been the case. Anyway, apart from that, I eventually was able to get the tent set up, and Riley and I walked back to the barn house to continue the YouTube process. And 2 other things that were cool that I was able to take advantage of is I was able to get a shower, nice hot shower. That was only the second shower that I've had on trail. The first one was actually at Fontana Dam. They have a shower building at the shelter at Fontana Dam. And for whatever reason, I just didn't take a shower in Hot Springs at the Laughing Heart or in Irwin at Uncle Johnny's, even though I could have. But the shower felt excellent a couple nights ago at Mountain Harbor. So I was definitely glad I was able to take advantage of that. And I was also able to wash my clothes in their laundry machine. They have a self-service laundry. So it was super easy to use. And this was the first time that I've washed my clothes the entire time I've been out here. So I got my orange shirt washed. I got my pants washed. My pants washed. I got my 2 pairs of socks, my Injinji toe liners and my Darn Tough socks washed. And I got my underwear washed. So all the important stuff. The only other stuff that I didn't wash, I have a backup shirt, which it wasn't really easy for me to wash because that was already still at my tent since I left it at my tent. But that doesn't get that dirty because I primarily wear this orange shirt for hiking. Anyway, so I got all this stuff washed and it feels so much cleaner. It was nice to have like a nice dry pair of socks to put on. And yeah, my pants and my underwear definitely needed washing. So definitely happy that I was able to take advantage of the washing machine. And the Wi-Fi was actually pretty good at Mountain Harbor. So I was able to get 5 videos uploaded. But nevertheless, I still had to stay up till like 4 a.m. to do that. But part of the reason like I stayed up till 4 a.m. is like around 2 a.m. or sometime after midnight, I started hearing pitter-patter pitter patter on the roof of the barn that we were in. So Riley and I were inside, obviously, but I could hear that it was raining outside. So at that point I was like, oh man, because we were getting close to being finished and gonna walk back to our tent, but I didn't want to walk back if it was raining and just get soaked. So I decided to like just try to wait out the rain. So that ended up basically making us stay longer. And I was able to get more stuff done with the Wi-Fi during that time, but it just delayed our ability to get in the tent. So during this time, Riley he had picked out a nice spot on a little sofa that they had. So he was getting a decent night's sleep. Anyway, so we eventually got back to the tent, and I was able to get a few hours of sleep, which was way better than getting no sleep, but I was still really exhausted the next day, which was yesterday. And but somehow I was able to wake up at by 7:30 without oversleeping, and we were able to get back to the main house for breakfast. And it was just a really nice main house. All the hikers who were spending the night there kind of converged into the dining room, and they have the kitchen, and then outside of the kitchen they have, I guess you could call it a living room. But there was plenty of space for all the hikers, and they just do such an amazing and professional job with their breakfast. They have two ladies that seem to be kind of in charge of the breakfast process. And it seems like they're in charge with making everything, but also, interacting with the hikers and explaining, kind of like waitresses or restaurant professionals. So these two ladies took care of getting everything ready for us to eat, and I'm sure they have to wake up at some crazy hour in the morning to start making everything, and then they put all this work to make it so just exquisitely beautiful. They put everything out on the kitchen countertop so that it's all organized, and then once they're ready for us to eat, they give a nice introduction to what all the different dishes are. And I was just very impressed with the whole process, and it was super nice just to be able to eat inside. I decided to, first of all, I was able to bring Riley up on the porch, and they don't allow dogs inside, so I left him secured to the one of the balcony posts outside, and he was fine there. And I sat in the dining room at a kind of a nice oval table with several other hikers, and it just felt luxurious to sit at a regular dining room table for a change. And anyway, so getting to the food, the food was just amazing. They had lots of meat options, but they also had lots of vegetarian options. They had they had a whole plate of eggs. I guess they seemed like scrambled eggs, but it wasn't exactly like scrambled eggs, but it was definitely an egg style dish. They had a whole plate of fried potatoes in a nice butter sauce. They had biscuits and gravy and apple butter and homemade sweet cream butter. They had strawberry and cream cheese pastry, as well as peaches and cream cheese pastry. They had fresh fruit. They had tomato pie. They had fresh tomatoes. They had these vegetarian lettuce wraps that had eggs and tomato and some other vegetables inside for vegetarians. They had English muffins with, and this is some of the meat
dishes. They had like English muffins with salmon and some other special things on it, and they had chocolate chip cookies and homemade granola, and they had chocolate coated cornflakes, I think. It was like some type of cereal that had been dipped in chocolate so that the chocolate had solidified, and it was this big chocolate ball with some type of cereal inside. And they had backup dishes. So if the hikers finished off it like a whole plate full of something, they could just bring out another plate full of it so that people wouldn't be disappointed that they missed out on anything. So the food was just absolutely amazing. The only bad thing is that, like, and this isn't anything bad about the place, it's just like with me, like, I'm like a goldfish in terms of like eating. So like, you know how goldfish or little pet fish in general are known to just eat and eat and eat, and you're not supposed to overfeed them because they will just continue eating and I guess they'll just like explode or something. I've never tried it myself, but with myself, when I get into an all-you-can-eat situation, I really struggle, especially when I'm really hungry, because I just overeat, and I initially really enjoy it when I'm really hungry, but then I have so much trouble like controlling the amount that I eat, and I eventually just eat so much that I start feeling bad. So I definitely overeat. I was good with the first plate, but then when I went back for a second plate, I could see already that it seemed like they were ready to start cleaning up. So I loaded up my second plate like really, really big. And I did pretty well in the first half of the plate, but I definitely was full for the second half of that second plate. Anyway, so I enjoyed all the food immensely, but by the end of the meal, I was feeling so stuffed, and I was just uncomfortable. So that's all my fault that I failed to control the portion size that I'm eating. But as far as the hostel in general, yeah, it was just an amazing, just a really nice place. Really glad that I was able to experience it. And I guess I would also describe it as the type of place where non-hikers would really enjoy it. Like there's a lot of things that you experience on trail that are amazing that you wouldn't think are amazing if you're not a hiker. Like just eating ice cream, for example. Like, I mean, people like eating ice cream in general, but for me, eating ice cream is just absolutely amazing when you're on trail. It's just one example. But this breakfast, I think, is something that non-hikers would also think is amazing. And I was actually thinking a little bit further about this, that I feel like the breakfast is it's actually very, very reasonably priced. They charge $13 for the breakfast, and that is absolutely I mean, it's $13 plus you need to stay the night. So it's not like overpriced, I would say, at all. But I feel like the breakfast is like more than what a hiker needs. It's just it's a luxurious experience. Like for me, I'm happy with cold cereal and milk and donuts for breakfast. Like that would be a luxurious breakfast for me on trail. I would be super happy. So like comparing my happiness level for something that I might get at another hostel that doesn't put as much work into their breakfast, I don't feel like my happiness level was necessarily increased like super significantly by but by eating the Mountain Harbor breakfast. Because I feel like my happiness level can get super high just by having some basic things like just a simple hot breakfast. I don't need a lot to be very happy on trail. So again, I'm really feel like I'm dragging on too long here, but the breakfast was absolutely amazing. But for hikers, I don't feel like it's I feel like it's almost overkill. But that's a separate issue. In terms of the quality of the breakfast, absolutely amazing. And most hikers only can experience this one time, because like you might stay there and then you're gone. So it was really cool to experience it. The other thing is, a lot of hostels offer this service called slack packing, which is hikers will hike into the hostel, spend a night, and then the hostel will offer a service where they'll drive you further north to some point on the trail, and then you hike southbound back to the hostel the next day. And then when you get back to the hostel, you can spend a second night there. So Mountain Harbor does that as well. And so as a result, many hikers that took advantage of that were able to spend 2 nights at the hostel. So that's cool for those hikers. I personally prefer to just hike northbound if we're doing a northbound hike. And I don't seek out opportunities to slack pack and then hike southbound. But for the hikers that like doing that, it's a great way to spend 2 nights at an awesome hostel. So that's my I said yesterday I had a lot to say on this, so I think I've exhausted what I have to say, and definitely glad I got the shower, glad I got the laundry done, glad I got some progress with the videos. Was not glad that I didn't get much sleep, and I was not glad that I overate. But those are both things that were within my control. So it's nothing bad to say about the hostel on those 2 items. Okay, and with that, I feel like I'm done with the Mountain Harbor deep dive review. Riley is still enjoying our break. So we are. I'm going to try to encourage him to continue on, and we will check in later. Hope everyone's doing well, and bye for now. All right, we're continuing on, and this is a little landmark here. This is, I think this is known as the Rotted Cabin. This is not a shelter, it's just some cabin structure that has been there a long time, and it is not habitable at all. There's no floor that I can tell. I have no desire to walk up to it and look inside, but it's interesting to see that it's right beside the trail. Okay, let me walk up to it. It's right here. Let's see what's inside here. All right. Yeah, just the remnants of a floor, some spider webs. It's a roof. So it does provide rain protection, but that would not be comfortable to sleep on. All right, buddy, let's continue on, Riley. Okay, we'll check in later. All right, we are getting very close here to Dennis Cove Road, which is on the other side of this. This is where I was talking about how the trail is going to pass through some really beautiful natural formations and scenery, and there's a parking lot right over there. There's lots of campsites here for people to use. And yep, there's something called Black Bear Resort down to the right somewhere. And actually to the left here, just like maybe a few tenths of a mile down the road, there is a pretty cool hiker hostel called Kinkora Hiker Hostel, I believe. that's run by a guy named Bob Peoples. He is... Whoa, Riley! Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. That was my fault. I'm sorry, Riley. That was my fault. You're fine, Riley. Okay. So there's a cool hiker hostel called Kinkora, run by Bob Peoples. Bob Peoples apparently is a very long time trail maintainer who's got just a ton of Appalachian Trail experience. I don't know how much hiking he's done, but he's spent a lot of time maintaining the trail. I assume in this general area of the trail. And he runs a hostel just down the road. And he only asks for like a $5 donation for people to stay there. I've never been there. I didn't go in 2017 or 2018 just because it didn't fit in with my my schedule at the time. But apparently he also doesn't allow dogs. He has cats on the property, and I'm sure he would not appreciate Riley barking at his cats. But, it's something I would like to, if I get the opportunity in the future, I think it'd be cool to stop in. So I think Riley hears some dogs over there. I'm sure it's not surprising that people would bring their dogs out here to go camping. So we're gonna be careful as we walk through there, and we'll check in a bit. By the way, this is the sign for Kinkora. Hiking hostel 0.2 miles west, shower, laundry, cooking shuttles, no dogs, $5 donation. So just down that way. And it's a nice campsite right here, but it wouldn't be very ideal to use it with it being so close to the road and the parking area. Anyway, so trail continues this way. Come on, Riley. All right, I'm just breaking out the camera like every 2 steps here. Yeah, so we just left. That's the parking area back there. You can tell that we're about to enter a cool area because they have a nice trailhead signs. So, Dennis Cove Trailhead. Lots of information. Yeah, welcome to Dennis Cove, to the Dennis Cove Trailhead. This trailhead serves as an access point for Laurel Falls via the Appalachian National Scenic Trail. Additionally, anglers can access the Laurel Fork along the trail for great fishing opportunities. And Riley just has picked up a ton of energy now. Like earlier in the day, he was like, I want to take a break. And now he sees a dog down there. All right, so I'm gonna need to control Riley here. So we'll check in there. Look how beautiful the trail is as we enter the Laurel Fork and Laurel Falls area. Just so wide and flat and easy to walk. There's a beautiful campsite over there. We already passed another campsite where there were many tenters at. Just so much area to camp here. You can hear the water gushing. Come on, Riley, let's keep going, buddy. Yeah. This is super popular area for people to come because there's so much cool scenery and it's very easy to walk to get to access as well. Sniff, 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 sniff. Come on, buddy. Just reached one of these cool signs. We're entering the Pond Mountain Wilderness in the Cherokee National Forest. Very cool, very cool, very cool. Come on. Nice view of the water down there. I guess I should call it a river. It seems bigger than a stream, so I'm gonna call it a river. Nice view of the river down there. All right, this is like a glimpse of what I remember with, we're walking on the trail and there's just these cliffs going up on both sides of us. This is just kind of the start though, but this is, yeah, pretty cool. Let's take a look from the other direction. Yeah, very nice. Got a big bridge here and a huge cliff face in front of us. Got to make sure I keep my eyes where I'm walking and don't accidentally walk off the side here. I'm out of breath now. We just walked up like 50 or 100 large stone steps. We were like walking on the bridge over the water there, and now we're much higher up. And now we have, see, there's a white blaze right there. So the trail continues this way. Riley sees the trail there and kind of thinks the trail continues that way, but nope, this way, Riley. Come on, buddy. And now we're little ants just walking through these cliffs. This is words cannot express the magnificence of this natural structure here. So the trail turns now. We've been coming from that direction, and there is a blue blaze trail that goes in that direction, continues through the cliffs. But there's a sign right on that tree. You can kind of see it jutting out to the left, just above the white blaze. That told us that Laurel Falls is this direction, and the AT, according to that white blaze, continues down. So we got to be careful. This is very steep, Riley. So we're stopped here. We've descended a little bit. I just want to show what it looks like from our vantage point here. So we started descending all the way up there, and it's basically just like this big giant stone staircase, one big giant stone at a time. I guess trail maintainers did this. I would have I mean, it seems kind of just very unlikely that like this would all have formed naturally, but maybe the rocks were there, and then trail maintainers just like cut part of the rock out to form the staircase. But somehow, I mean, it would have been crazy to place these rocks here. I guess they must have just done some cutting, or maybe it was like this naturally. That's an interesting question. Anyway, so continues down. Yeah, we're going all the way down there, and wherever that sound of the water is, we're going to be down there by the time we finish this descent here. All right, Riley. Okay, so we have descended from all the way up there. The falls are very noisy right now. That is the falls right there. Laurel Falls. That's a lot of water. And it's possible to go down there and go down all the way to the water, but the AT continues that way. There's a white blaze on the tree trunk there. So that's where we're gonna go. Come on, buddy. Riley. Riley, we're going this way. Riley, this way. This way, Riley. Riley just got a drink from the falls, and the AT is taking us all the way down to the water. And then we gotta cross over like we're walking a tightrope. The trail continues that way. So we're gonna be right on the edge of the cliff on our right and the Laurel Falls River on our left. So gotta be careful not to fall in here. All right, Riley is right over there, sleeping, resting on the ground, and just want to close out the day here. So Riley and I have found our campsite for the evening. We are still in the Laurel Falls area, but we're close to close to heading out and getting back into the mountainous woodsy range where the day hikers and tourists are less likely to be. For some reason, my Far Out app on my phone is not working right now. Like, I try to open the app and I just see the welcome screen, which says lacing up our shoes, and it just stays there for some reason. So I can't check my mileage using the Far Out app, which is kind of a bummer. But this is my AWOL guide, and we are between the, we've crossed over the two footbridges, which is at mile 420.7 in the AWOL guide, but we have not yet hit the side trail to Hampton, which is near where the trail goes back into the mountainous range. So I'm guessing, according to this, we're at mile 421, which means we are 13.7 miles after U.S. Forest Service Road 293 that Riley and I passed last night. And Riley and I made it 1.4 miles beyond that service road. So that means that if that's correct, that we're at 421 according to the AWOL guide, then that means we did 13.7 minus 1.4, which is 12.3 miles today. Which puts us at mile 422.8 based on the Far Out mileage. So I'll try to figure that out more tomorrow. Hopefully the Far Out app will start working again. And but it's nice that we have a campsite. I decided not to push for our 13.3 goal because it's already dark, as you can see, and I didn't want to do a lot of night hiking. So we saw this beautiful campsite, and I think it'll be a lot easier just to just to spend the night here and not have to worry about doing any night hiking. It's always harder at night, and we can just get up in the morning with the light and hike tomorrow. So, with that, I hope everyone is doing well. Riley and I say good night, and we will check in tomorrow. All the best.